Okay, well, happy Monday, everybody. We're going to work through section 3.6 today. And there's not a lot to this section itself, but we will be working through some of the OCE questions, so that's always a good thing for you guys. So I'm on page 375 right now in your packet, and the whole lesson for this is talking about blood alcohol content, all right? So BAC, that is something you should know. Blood alcohol content is a measure of how much alcohol is in someone's blood. Now, throughout this paragraph, they talk about BAC of 0.3%. Or 0.08%. And I did look it up. It said in New York State, there's my phone, in New York State and every other state, the legal blood alcohol content level is 0.08%. This means that someone with a blood alcohol content of 0.08% is or more is legally considered drunk or intoxicated. So this was New York State is 0.08% as well. Now, typically, though, do you see the percent symbol? Oftentimes, you don't hear the percent symbol given. They'll just say their blood alcohol content was a 0.08. But let's talk about what the percentage means. So if someone says their blood alcohol content was 0.3%, that's really high, to figure out as far as a rate goes, or a ratio or fraction with that, so to go from a percentage to a decimal, you shift the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, and then as a fraction, that's tenths, hundredths, thousandths, so that's 3/1000. So basically, what a blood alcohol content of 0.3% means, it means you have 3 grams of alcohol for every 1,000 grams of blood. That's what that means. Okay? So usually though, usually you don't hear the percent, so a lot of times people say the legal limit of New York State for blood alcohol content is 0.08. Usually you don't see the percent, but we know now that there's a percent here. So this would be, as a decimal, shift the decimal 2 places to the left if you want to get rid of the percent symbol. And then this would be 8 over 10 hundred thousandths, 10 thousandths. So you have 8 grams of alcohol and 10,000 grams of blood. And that is what our state limit is. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know, typically we don't see the percent symbol if you're ever doing any sort of readings with that. All right, so there are several things that impact your blood alcohol content. And most of the things are kind of tabulated into this formula. There are other things, but this is a basic formula for estimating an individual's blood alcohol content. So let's just look at this formula to see what variables are entailed in this formula. All right, so B is the percentage of your blood alcohol content, right? B is your BAC. N is the standard number of, or the number of standard drinks, like a 12-ounce beer, a 5-ounce glass of wine, a shot of liquor. And notice that N is in the top of a fraction. So that means the bigger the N, the bigger the B, right? So the more drinks that you have, obviously your blood alcohol content is going to be high. All right, weight in pounds. So the bigger you are, the more you weigh, that means tends to be the more you can drink, and your blood alcohol content won't be as high as someone who has the similar number of drinks but doesn't weigh as much. And so you notice that W is in the bottom of the fraction because the bigger the denominator, the smaller the fraction. So that makes sense that a heavier person will have a lower blood alcohol content given the same number of drinks that someone else of a lighter weight drink. So R is this constant. It's called the distribution rate, and they will give it to you on the final. I've noticed when this question popped up on the final in the past, they always gave you this constant. It's 0.68 for males, 0.55 for females. It's in the bottom of a fraction. So males, since this is a bigger number for men, their blood alcohol content tends to be lower, right, than for a female drinking the same number of drinks. And then T is the number of hours after the first drink. Now look, T is multiplied by a negative number, so the bigger the T, this negative number is going to lower that B value. All right, so anyway, looking at the equation, discuss why the terms on the right side make sense. So that's what we talked about, like why the N is upstairs, it'll make the B bigger. Why the W is downstairs, it'll make the value smaller if the W is large. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this. So it says, consider the case of a male. So this is where my R is going to be 0.68, who has 3 beers. So this is my N value, the number of beer, and W right here is 120 pounds. So they said, pop these into the equation and see what you got. All right, so B equals negative 0.015. We don't know T, plus 2.84 times 3 all over 120 pounds times 0.68. Well, we can simplify that fraction, right? That's not too bad. So I'm just going to put it in my fraction key. You ready? So we have a fraction. It's the N over D key, right? Do you see me hit that one? N over D times 3 on the top. And on the bottom, I'm going to put 120 times 0.68. All right, let's see. So B equals negative 0.015 T plus, well, let's just round this to like 4 decimals, 0.1044. So it looks like we need to know what T is and like how much time has gone by since they started drinking, and that'll let us know what the B is. So for question 3, and this is where I would pop you into your groups and say, okay, you guys just calculate what happens to be after 1 hour, 3 hours, and 5 hours and report back in. So if you wouldn't mind, pause the video and at least figure out what B is when T equals 1, T equals 3 hours, and T equals 5 hours. So just pause the video and see what you get. All right, so I'm going to put it right here. B will equal negative 0.015 times 1 plus 0.1044. Okay, I'm just going to pop it in my calculator. You ready? Negative 0.015 times 1 plus 0.1044. Did you guys get 0.0894? So B is equal to 0.0894. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for 3 hours. Okay, and then I'm going to pop that into my calculator. Okay, negative 0.015 times 3 hours plus 0.1044. Did you guys get 0.0594? Okay. Interesting, like this is above the legal limit. Now we're below the legal limit of 0.08. And then we'll do for 5 hours. All right, let's see what we got. Negative 0.015 times 5 plus 0.104. Let's get 0.0294. All right, so what do you notice about the data? So as time goes on, right, your body metabolizes that alcohol in your blood, and so your blood alcohol content decreases. So the blood alcohol content lowers with time. All right, do you guys do okay with that? So the next question would be a group question to say, all right, what did you really do? Now we popped it into our calculator, but if we were to calculate, here I'm going to do the time t equals 3. Right, I'm just copying over from the other page. Okay. Like, what would you do first? It's a PEMDAS question, right? When you popped in the 3, the first thing you would do is you would multiply, right? If you had to do it in steps. So multiply first with PEMDAS, and then you would add second, right? Just to outline the steps. So step number 1 is you replaced t with 3. Technically, step number 2, you'd multiply first and then you'd add. But we're just going to use our calculator and pop it in exactly how we see it. All right, so let's look at this next question. It says, how long will it take for the student's blood alcohol content to be 0.08, the legal limit? How long will it take for the alcohol to be completely metabolized, resulting in a blood alcohol content of 0? All right, so here's our formula. Okay, so now I'm going to do this part right over here. Split it up. Okay, this is wanting the blood alcohol content to be 0.08. So I'm going to let my B be 0.08, and then we're going to solve for T. All right, so it's been a while maybe since you've solved equations. So the first thing you have to do is get this term by itself, right? You've got to get the term with the unknown by itself, and then the last step will be to divide. And remember, what you do to one side of the equal sign, you've got to do the other. So to get this bubble by itself, I'm going to subtract 0.1044 from both sides. The last step's going to be divide, okay? So I'm going to have 0.08 minus 0.1044. Okay, so I'm running out of room. They do not give us enough room on these. So I'll sneak it over here. So negative 0.0244 is going to equal this term right here, negative 0.015 t. Okay, and then to get t by itself, we're going to divide both sides. by 0.015. Divide both sides by that negative 0.015, and then we'll see how long it'll take. Oh, I forgot to divide it by the negative. So negative 0.0244 divided by negative 0.015, about 1.6 hours. Is that what you guys got? 1.6 hours. So, you know, it's over an hour and a half. So if you wanted to figure out how many minutes, it's going to be 97 minutes. Right? So a little over an hour and a half. If that's how many hours, you just multiply by 60 to get the number of minutes. So a little over an hour and a half. All right. Now this one, I'll do over here. Now it says, they want to know how long will it take till your body has processed the alcohol. So now we're going to let B equal 0. Okay, so why don't you take your time and go ahead and solve for that. Okay, what you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other. That's a big thing you've got to remember if you haven't solved equations in a while. Okay, so subtract, right, we're going to hear me circle again. You got to get the term with the variable in it by itself. So we'll subtract the negative 0.1044 to undo adding. Okay, then we'll divide. We'll pull out our calculator. You ready? So negative 0.1044 divided by negative 0.015. Did you guys get just about 7 hours? T is about 7 hours. Okay? Pop that over there again. All right. So now, let's do this last little scenario. So it says a female weighs 110 pounds. So we know that that was W, okay? And then, because we're dealing with a female, their R value is 0.55. Do you see that? That's on the previous sheet. So look, it looks like they did the handiwork for us. They have 60.5. Let's just check it. So we have a female that's 110 pounds. So we have a female that's 110, and the R value is 0.55. So if you're wondering where they got that denominator, do you see? They just did the work for us. They put W and R in for us and got 60.5 in the denominator of that fraction. And that's where that is. That's where that comes from, okay? So female student plans on going home in 2 hours. So they simplified the formula. Well, where did they get this from? All right, well, let's look at the formula again. T is 2. So if T is 2, do you see you'll get negative 0.015 times 2. And that's how they got the negative 0.03. Okay? All right. So now we kind of understand how they got this formula from, and what we're missing is the number of drinks she's going to drink and her blood alcohol content. So it says, compare the student's blood alcohol content for 1 glass of wine versus 3 glasses of wine at the time she's going to leave. All right. I think we all know what's going to happen, right? All right. So let's go ahead and pop in the 1 glass of wine. Okay, we'll pop that into our calculator, and then we'll go ahead and put in this same formula, 3 glasses of wine. All right? Okay, here we go. So I'm going to do this one. And I'm just going to put it in exactly how I see it. See, it's this 0.03 plus a fraction. And I use my arrow to get down to the denominator. You see, I just put in a fraction. All right, so her blood alcohol content is 0.0169. I hate to say it 0.02, but you know, it's 0.0169. We'll just call it that for one glass of wine. Right, she's in the legal limit. All right, so now let's do it for 3 glasses of wine. I'm going to put in my fraction. Okay, I typed it in exactly how I see it. All right, woo, way higher, right? She's not in the legal limit, not even close. That okay? Does that make sense? Yeah, she should not be driving, right? That's bad. So it says in this scenario, like if she wants to be smart, how many drinks can she have so that her blood alcohol content remains less than 0.08? All right, so here's this formula. Okay, here's the formula. And we want to make sure that this is 0.0. We'll find out what the number of drinks is to be 0.08, and then we'll just tell her to drink less than that. So this section is kind of like the braking distance section, manipulating a formula, right? We're doing some formula manipulation, knowing what the variables mean, knowing what they represent, why they're placed in the formula like they are. Right, so this is just a little formula work. All right, so to get n by itself, gotta get this guy by itself, right? So let's add. To undo a negative, we add. Okay. So we're going to have 0.08 plus 0.03. You guys get 0.11? Okay, now there's a couple ways you can do this. I usually see this in the denominator, and I'm going to get rid of that first. So to undo division, we're going to multiply. Right, so that can cancel. So, times 60.5. Do you guys get 6.655? Okay. 6.655 is 2.84 n. And then to get n by itself, we divide. Okay, so let's see how many drinks we should tell her. So do you guys get 2.34 drinks? Hold that up again. Do you guys see that? 2.34. So it looks like she should not drink that third glass of wine till it hits the bottom. She should not, you know, she shouldn't even drink half of it. She should drink less than half of the third glass. All right, so the other little bit to this section is not too terrible. I just want to practice really fast, if you need it, solving some equations. So if you flip the page on 378, because you have some OCE questions like it, it's to solve the equation for the given values. All right, so if x is -3, we just substitute -3 in for x. And basically just pull out our calculator, but without the calculator we'd have to multiply first. For -4 times -3 would be -12, or +12. And then 12 minus 2. I mean, you guys could just use your calculator, but I'm just going to review the PEMDAS. We'd have to multiply first, right? And then we'd subtract. Okay? I mean, you can write a description if you wanted that, but as long as you show someone the steps that you just took, it wouldn't be hard to follow. And then for the second one, do you see y is equal to negative 3? So you're going to substitute in negative 3 for y. And then you got to remember, what you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other if you're solving. So I like to circle the term that has the variable in it, and then I just undo all the operations. So to undo a negative 2, I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So negative 4x is equal to negative 1. And then I'm going to undo multiplication with division. So it looks like x is going to equal 0.25 or 1/4, 1/4. All right, so let's hit the OCE. We got some time. This video isn't too long yet. So let's hit the OCE together. So number 1 should be pretty easy because I've said it multiple times in the video. Cross off 2, okay, cross off 2, and then number 3 is just solving equations. So if you're having trouble with those, you got to give me a shout, okay, and let me know. All right, so 1 should be easy, 3 should be super easy. Ready? We're going to cross off 4. And I looked up number 5 for you because I was actually curious. Now remember, the blood alcohol content 0.08 and under is legal limit. 0.05, they describe that as being very relaxed. And just a feeling of well-being is what the website said. Okay, so that's under the legal limit. 0.1 is above the legal limit. Do you see 0.1? Like if you want to go 0.10, if you want, is bigger than 8. 10 is bigger than 8. 0.1 is pretty major. They said this is a loss of judgment. And you have some significant slurred speech. Yeah, no one should be driving, right, if they're to this point. And then I was like, whoa, 0.5? You're likely in a coma. I was like, wow, that took a jump in a hurry. You're in a coma, and it said possible death. So there is not a lot of wiggle room, right, between these. Like 0.5 is bad. It is bad. So I thought, oh, I'll just look those up. Usually I pull up the website in class and we look at all the different, I mean, these are just some of them, but there's quite a few more of the effects for each of these. But since we're not in class, I thought I'd just throw it at you. Whew, that's bad. All right. And then you can cross off 6B, because 6B, well, we looked up our state. I showed it to you. It was 0.08. But then 6B, you have to tell me how much you weigh, and most people don't want to have to do that. So just cross off 6B. You don't have to do that, but you can do 6A, okay? So yes, do 6A. Yes, do 6A, okay? So that shouldn't be hard. Number 7, I just want to do the first part for you so you can understand how to do the problem. So this formula is just another formula, and that's going to happen on this exam for the final. They're going to give you some formula you might not have ever seen before, and it'll be some reading, but don't let it intimidate you. Like, just read it, read for enjoyment what the formula is about, and then just plug and chug in the numbers. So this one talks about the percentages of Americans, like adult Americans, who are retired. And this has been increasing over the last decade because people are living longer. So this is causing some concern because healthcare, right? Social Security, the money that people need to live, that elderly people live off, and other costs, they're now going to be responsible for a smaller workforce. So, so it says, that is, the percentage of retired people increases, the percentage of working age people decreases. That should make sense. So this is a model that predicts the percentage of retired people. So R is the percentage as a decimal of Americans who are retired. So 10%, 15%, 20% as a decimal. And T is going to be the year that that happened. So all you have to do is put this in for R. So this is my R value. So 10% equals T over 873 and 36 hundredths minus 2.15 or 2 and 15 hundredths. So they said, you know, write this as a decimal. And solve. So again, I always like to circle what I'm solving for. Okay? So I'm going to get this bubble by itself. So I'm going to add 2.15 to both sides because that's how you undo a negative. So I'm going to do all this on my calculator so you can see me do it. So we have 0.10 plus 2.15. So that's 2.25. And then to undo division, we multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by 873.36. 873.36. Okay, so times 873.36. Okay, so it looks like in the year 1965. You don't round up because this means a little bit after the beginning of 1965, right? You never round up accordingly. You just kind of truncate the decimal and that's the year. So you fill in 1965 here. And so now you can do the rest for those remaining percentages. All right. And let's look at what we have left. So I'm gonna work through 8 with you because 8's really tricky. But they have things like this on the final and the past, so I want to make sure we cover it. You can do 9. I'm gonna give you a hint for number 9. Convert this to feet. Okay? Convert to feet because they are telling you what one dimension of the rectangle is in feet. So I'm just giving you a hint, convert everything to feet for number 9. Okay, and then you won't have any trouble plotting points for number 10. If you do, give me a shout. Zoom me and we'll go over. I'll remind you how to plot points and what intercepts are. All right, so the only little piece is I'm going to do number 8 for you, and I want you to do it. I want you to hand it in. So if you're watching the video, kudos. If you're not watching the video and you ask me, I'm going to tell you to watch the video. All right, so we have this dining room, okay, and we want to put crown molding. So molding, I'm looking at my house right now. I don't have any crown molding in, but it's the wood piece that goes in the top of the ceiling, where the ceiling and the wall connects. So you're going to put crown molding all around. So it's not an area problem, it's a perimeter problem. All right? And the dimensions are 13 feet of the room by 14 feet 9 inches. So right now I'm hoping you can detect the problem because we want everything in feet. before we add up the sides. So I'm going to do a little dimensional analysis. Hopefully you guys are getting the hang of this. So we need to convert 9 inches to feet. So we're going to multiply by a fraction. What you get rid of goes on the bottom, and what you want to be left with goes on the top. And then fill it in. There's 12 inches in 1 foot. Do you see that? So that your inches are going to cancel, and you're going to be left with feet. So I'm going to pop this into my calculator. If it's not a decimal that you have to round, you can do it as a decimal. If you have to round it, I leave it as a fraction. So you could write 3/4 or change is 0.75 feet. So this is 14.75 feet, right? 9 inches is 0.75 of a foot, so it's 14 plus 0.75. So this is 14.75 feet, and this is going to be 14.75 feet. Whew. So now we can do the perimeter, right? So perimeter is adding the two sides that are opposite, or just go right around the 4 walls, right? So it looks like we're going to need 55.5 feet of crown molding. Now, before you jump into question number, or part B, this person who's putting the crown molding in wants to order or tack on 10% more, just in case they screw up with the cutting the wood. So they said, okay, this is what the room measures as, but let's just tack on a little bit more before we go to Home Depot and tell them what we want. So to take 10% of the 55.5, and then you've got to remember to add it back in, right? So you're going to start off with the 55.5 feet, and then you're going to add 10% of it. So here's what we have in the room, and then we want to add 10% more. Does that make sense? You've got 10% of the 55.5, and you're going to add it back in. So we really need, when we go to Home Depot, we need to tell them we need 61.05 feet. Okay. All right, so when we get to the store, we can only buy it in 8-foot lengths. 8 foot, that's all they're going to sell it to us. So how many 8-foot lengths can we get out of there? So we can get a full 7, but seven's not gonna be enough, right? And they're not gonna give us 7.6. You gotta buy so many boards of 8 that are 8 feet long. So 7's not gonna cut it. So we gotta go up to 8. So this is 7.63. We're gonna have to round up to 8 boards. 8-foot boards. So we'll have 64 feet. So we got plenty of room for wiggle room. So now they want to know, how much is it going to cost? Well, this is definitely a question. You're going to have something like this on the final for sure. So we've got 8 boards. They're $24 each. Okay. So they're at $192. But then you got the tax, right? So you all have to know how to figure out tax. So it's $192 to start, plus, right there. I was like, I thought there was tax. Plus 8.25% of the original price, $192. That's how you figure out tax. You figure out the price, and then you tack on that rate times the price and add it back in. Okay. So we have $192 plus 8.25% Or if you don't have a percent symbol, you could just use 0.0825 times 192. So the total cost for the for the molding, total cost for the crown molding is $207.84. There's a lot to that problem. I'll try to put one. We have only one more. Wow, I think I'll try to put something sort of like it, so you can get in the habit of, if they say they're going to tack on a little for waste, you're good to go. If they deal with tax, you're good to go. But that's it. That's it for this section. You don't have many questions left on this OCE, so if you watched the video and stuck with me, there's your reward, right? So there's very few. It shouldn't take you long at all to finish this OCE up, but please feel free to ask me questions. And I've been having a lot of meetings lately, but as soon as I get off, I'll try to get in touch with you. All right, take care, everyone. Have a good week. If I don't see you, well, there'll be another video posted on Wednesday. And don't forget, hopefully this is your Monday, that you do have an OWOW due tonight at midnight. You have the P&L to 3.4 and 3.6 due tonight. And this 3.6 is not due for a whole week, so you have a week, Monday, April 27th. Get it done. I bet you it won't take you long. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everyone.